Hello and welcome to Funded Futures, the podcast. My name is Emily. I'm your host, and today I'm joined by Jesse Arundell, who is the head of artificial intelligence at Optus and a newly appointed member of the advisory board at VentureCrowd. Welcome to the podcast.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
I know it's been a while trying to get a hold of you. You're a very busy man.
I like to keep myself entertained and busy.
So obviously you've just joined the advisory board now at VentureCrowd. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What's drawn you towards actually getting involved with VentureCrowd now?
I was engaged by Steve to come in and Sean to come and join the board. And the things that really stuck out for me was the strategy and the mission.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the purpose of the company. But I think also the energy of the entire team and their belief in that purpose and mission, which really is to help digitize and to automate the capital raising process and to also unlock new wealth opportunities for Australians. And after a decade of working in financial services and seeing some of the puzzles and the opportunities that exist, both for customers, but for also market participants, I thought that the way that they were thinking about it was excellent, inspiring, and something I wanted to be a part of.
Awesome. And specifically, you've been brought in to help drive the use of Agentic AI. For those who aren't familiar, can you explain what exactly is Agentic AI?
Sure. So the best way to think about Agentic AI is almost to have a artificial intelligence or an assistant who can now plan, think, act, and do. So previously, other forms of artificial intelligence may require you to have a whole series of structured inputs that it would then make decisions about and give you an output, typically in the form of a number or another piece of data. The real shift towards Agentic AI is that this system can now think, it has cognition, can plan out what it needs to do to help you, can connect to a bunch of tools and services, and then can actually do things in those tools and services for you.
Okay. And so obviously coming into a financial business that is highly digitized, how can that transform a business?
I think the transformation opportunities that exist with Agentic AI is to actually help reimagine how end-to-end processes work inside businesses. So it's not about applying AI for the sake of AI, but it's more to think about how do we need to evolve what we do with these new tools and capabilities that are available to us. And so if I think about processes in the financial services industry, they're often very manual. They often require a lot of handoffs between people who perform specialized functions or roles, and often has a lot of paperwork, and a lot of it typically isn't digital or performed by systems.
Yeah, right.
So if I think about the opportunity is to say, well, if you were to take what exists today and reimagine it in the age of AI, the way that we think about the work that's done and the processes that are executed, well, they would be planned, they'd be thought out, they'd be connected to a bunch of data and systems inside a company, and then they'd be done by AI.
Right.
That would lead to processes being more automated, more autonomous, more effective, cheaper to run, more predictable in nature, and hopefully will lead to better and safer customer outcomes in the industry too.
I know a lot of people are really scared about AI coming in and replacing people's jobs, which in this instance, it really does feel like that's exactly what's happening here. It's an agent, if you think of it in that way. It's a person, but a robot. How would you explain that to somebody who is afraid of these new technologies coming into play?
I think the best way of framing it, and I feel part of the narrative in Australia is actually quite conservative when it comes to the way we're approaching how to think about AI and how it's applied in business. The framing I'd give would be more so to think of AI as an assistant or a co-pilot or something that's there to bring out the best in what you do. And what I mean by that is not to think about it as a replacement or a displacement of people, but more as something that can supercharge them, something that has the world's intelligence sitting behind them, connected to all the data inside your company that's able to help you get more things done. And for me, the opportunities that actually exist in reality, I think are all focused on taking toil and the crap things about work away from people to get them focused more on creative tasks and activities inside the workplace, but also the things that machines will never be able to do, which is to really be able to reason, to be able to engage empathetically, to get to work with other humans to solve problems together or to come up with new opportunities. And I think that that's the opportunity, is to not think about it as a displacement, but more an enablement of the best and most fun parts of work.
Right. I've been in the financial services industry myself for quite a few years. When I started using AI tools to, check compliance on specific documents, often it would refer to outdated publications or models that were no longer relevant and therefore no longer compliant. How does how do these new AI agents avoid making mistakes like that for these highly regulated industries?
So I think that it's a really, really good set of points that you're making. And for me, it comes back down to how we actually deploy and implement AI for the enterprise.
Okay.
Like, these are highly regulated environments and need to have controls in place. And to me, the types of controls that we need to be thinking about change as a result of the use of AI. And for me, what that translates to is a real focus on making sure that our application and use of AI is responsible, but also that it's grounded and that it's using and consuming the most accurate and up-to-date information possible.
Okay.
And I think that whether that applies in a context about you wanting to have the latest information about internal reports inside your company, whether it's external data like legal information, obligations or legal artifacts, I think the same principles have to apply, which is that it has to be grounded in the right information, what it's used for should be ethical, and that realistically the decisions that it's making and its use are transparent and able to be inspected.
Yeah, right. So from your experience, how do you see AI coming in and transforming investment markets and, platforms like VentureCrowd?
So the big opportunities that I see, particularly as it pertains to VentureCrowd, is both to help transform the way that I think retail and wholesale investors interact with the platform, but also the way that founders and leaders of property management funds and property developers are also engaging with the platform too.
Okay.
So I kind of see one layer. How do you change the way that the platform is able to interact and engage with these people to help solve problems and to help them get more done and to make the platform more helpful and useful, but also internally the core jobs to be done that exist for the founders or for the property developers or any other a line of business and their customers that need to use it, is to go, how do you execute processes and transactions more effectively, more quickly, and help better connect the universe between people who are trying to raise capital, people who have capital that want to be connected to opportunities to help grow their wealth.
Right. So I know you're relatively new to the role on the board, but what do you think are the first few things that you're going to tackle now that you've started this new role?
Yeah, so still is relatively fresh, and I've loved getting to meet the team and to have our first few board meetings. The things that I've been really focused on, first and foremost, is just getting myself up to speed. So connecting with the team, understanding the plan, the roadmaps, and the work that we're going to drive with Diego and the team that's future focused is to then go, how do we analyze what we've got and what we've built, particularly for founders so far, and the work with Sophie, who is in effect a capital raising assistant that's been developed, which is awesome. How do we think about applying that for other customers and other users of the platform? But also, how do we think about some of the AI solutions that have been built in different parts of the organization, particularly for processes that apply across the whole company, like marketing, campaign management, and how do we get those working horizontally? So it's not just for the team that's helping to work on closing deals for new funds or for founders and their startups. How do we get the same technology and the same solutions built and being used for other parts of the business too that could make great use of them and drive a lot of value?
Totally. So when it comes to capital raising, traditionally founders are very time poor because they're trying to raise capital at the same time as running their business and keep a roof over their head. How do you think that AI will help them to raise capital and keep doing their businesses in a way that they've never been able to before?
Yeah, so I keep seeing this same insight come up in many, many different contexts, which is that business owners, whether they be startups or not, love their craft. They love what they do every day. And yet there's all of these tasks and activities that surround the business. Capital raising might be one of them. Marketing might be another. Accounting, or financial management, banking, that need to be done, but are things they aren't specialists in. And so for me, looking at that as a set of opportunities is to say, well, how do you make it simpler and easier for those jobs to be done by people who aren't necessarily experts or specialists in them? And for me, part of that is making it easy to understand and become aware of what needs to be done. So in the capital raising process, a lot of times I see founders who just want to know what to do. What is the instrument I should be using? What's the process? How long does it take? What's the expectations I've got? How should I position my deal? Who should I be engaging with? What's my approach? Like, these are all common questions. And without having done it before, many of them are looking for guidance on what to do.
Right.
So I think part of that is, how do you make it easier for them to know all the jobs to be done and help give them the ability to work with somebody, whether it be a machine or a human, to make it easier just to understand. But also then when it comes to the actual transaction itself and the campaign associated with it, how do you make that easy? How do you make it effective? How do you help them, again, execute that process in a way that means that they don't have to do a bunch of manual work or develop a bunch of content or materials that they may not have tested, that may not land well, that they may not know of, or there may be a whole bunch of landmines along the end-to-end process they may be completely unaware of. So me, again, that AI opportunity sits at two levels, which is to say, one, how do you help give them guidance to make it easier, simpler? And then two, how do you make the process of acquiring capital better and make it better for them, but also for the people that have capital who are looking to invest in the opportunity?
Right. So with all of those things considered, what do you think the number one barrier to entry is for founders trying to raise capital?
I think it's knowing where to start.
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of the puzzle and I feel like there's a lot of different people in the ecosystem who are out there trying to help. And yet I still feel like we haven't quite cracked the fundamentals in many way, which is just getting clear on what the process is, being able to use data to help make the process more effective and to really help founders tap into the capital I think we can see sits in the private markets today, but isn't necessarily going to the right things or is sitting there dormant, waiting for opportunities that it's not quite being connected to yet.
Right. And from an investor perspective, if we were to flip it, what do you think the hardest thing is for them when trying to find an exciting new opportunity to invest in?
For me, I think part of it is access, which is, I think, the lifeblood of any investor is getting access to deals and understanding the deal flow and what opportunities are out there. And then two is actually aligning that deal flow and those opportunities to what they actually want to invest in.
Right.
And what I see as a common pitfall is just to treat every investor the same. And for me, people are interested. People are engaged. They want to invest in amazing founders and people. They want to invest in great technology. They want to invest in funds that are doing things that align with their personal interests or their beliefs. And I think that there's a bigger role to play in helping to match people to the right, A, good volume of deals, but B, the right types of deals that they're interested in too.
Makes me think, I wonder if there would ever be an AI matchmaker for investors and founders.
I think it'd be a lot of fun.
That would be really fun.
Maybe we can have a crack.
Yeah. So it's like a dating app, but for
swipe right for the best deal for you.
Imagine. And then your AI agent says, I think this is your best match, and delivers it.
You'd hope so.
Did I just give you your next business idea?
Either that or it's something we're going to work on at VentureCrowd.
Or somebody's already invented it. I always have this thing where I think of a business, but I'm too lazy to actually follow through. And also working with founders, I know that I would never start a business because you have to be a certain level of crazy to start your own business. Founders are some of the hardest working people I have ever met. I don't know how you would even start a business from the get-go, let alone raise capital.
They give me so much energy and inspiration through the programs I'm involved in and some of the companies that I work with directly. The hard yakka they have to go through to get started, to get something operational, to get a product to customers, and then to get the money to give them the roadway to do it at scale. Hats off to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're always so impressive.
Yeah. I would say I'm the prime example of those who can't do teach. So I prefer to work with the founders and, help them to scale. That's my place in the ecosystem, I think, versus actually starting a business and getting your hands dirty. It's always interesting when I speak to founders and I say, what advice would you give to yourself if you were starting a business again? And they say, don't do it.
Well, I think one of the really interesting things I've started to see, particularly with a lot of much younger startup founders, particularly through some of the Australian universities that I'm connected to and involved with, is also the use of AI changing the way that starting a business works.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is previously where you'd have to maybe have a product leader, maybe an engineer or a CTO, maybe a COO or a design leader as kind of that first trio of people to get something started. One of the trends that is deeply fascinating is the rise of, I think, the solo founder.
Oh, yeah.
And the founder being powered by AI and having these functions and these processes and the things they need done by AI, which I think is such a fascinating trend that has huge implications and may even make it easier should make it easier to get started. So totally.
Don't you remember back in the day how expensive it was to start an app?
Oh, 100%.
It's wild.
Much like you, it's easy to have a bunch of great ideas for a business. And sometimes you just look at the complexity, the cost, all the jobs to be done. And sometimes it just doesn't add up.
Yeah.
But now, like the cost of getting started, getting things moving, and actually getting out and getting to customers just drastically decreased.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, you can put together a business plan through ChatGPT. It can plan out your day, your schedule. It can literally look online at the people that you should be speaking to at publications if you want to get your story out there. The options, I think, are really limitless.
Truly.
In that sense, you don't have to have an education in a specific realm. It's a crazy thing. But then I guess what I would argue is that you can't replace human interaction and relationship building.
Totally agree.
In that capital raising process.
True. And I also think to me, AI is an enabler and an accelerant. And yet, at the same time, the human insight and the human connection is something that it will never be able to do.
Totally.
Or replace. And I think that, to your point, throughout that process, people like interacting with people. And there are times where you need a trusted advisor, someone who's got the battle scars, who's done it before, that people just want to talk to, ask questions to, and get help.
And in that sense, what advice would you give to founders when they are raising capital and they want it to be simple? They want it to be quick, easy. They want access to funds in a short space of time. What would you say to them?
I would tell them to cast the net wide. And what I mean by that is I think there are so many great people in the ecosystem at the moment, particularly in Australia, but also it's never been easier to engage people from all over the world for help. but is to go seek guidance, seek advice, connect with people. And I think when you do that, people are actually really willing to tell you their story or to give you a steer. And I feel like the ecosystem is in such a healthy spot that people want to help other people. And I think people want to see everybody else in Australia doing well when it comes to startups, technology, whether they be software or deep tech. So yeah, my steer would be cast the net wide, go speak to a bunch of different people, from whether they be previous founders, operators of current businesses, go speak to some of the accelerator programs that exist, some of the amazing startup resources that are available both through the government, whether it be state or the Commonwealth, but also the universities, also amazing platforms like VentureCrowd.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. What role do you see platforms like VentureCrowd playing in the startup ecosystem in Australia?
It's a huge enabler. And for me, the opportunity is for the platform to be more and to do more. And what I mean by that is making it easier for founders, but also a whole bunch of other different customer types to be able to use the platform to raise capital more efficiently and effectively.
Totally.
And I think that being able to steer into the totality of some of the capital needs, some of the puzzles that exist in managing capital beyond it, I think it's huge opportunities where the platforms can steer into and solve more problems and make it easier for founders, other people like property managers and developers, fund managers, lots of angel syndicates that are out there as well, do more and be more as well.
For sure.
So I think there's that symbiotic relationship that needs to be built up further. And at the same time, like a good understanding of where it can be helpful, where it needs to play, what it needs to do to be more valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sure in your experience, you've seen a lot of changes that have happened in a short space of time in terms of the development of AI and its capabilities. What do you foresee being the key changes in the next 2 to 3 years?
So like the rate of pace of technological development has never been faster. The thing that's both amazing, inspiring, but also a little bit scary is that the pace just continues to accelerate.
Yeah, right.
Today, for us, it's the slowest it will ever be again. So each day it's going to go up and up and up.
You're scaring me.
It is a bit scary, but again, I think we have to look at it as an opportunity to go as these systems become more capable, able to help us do more.
Yeah, right.
So for me, I'm not a betting man, and putting my money on what might happen in 2 or 3 years.
I think it's funny you say that, because wouldn't you argue that investing is the rich man's betting?
Well, it depends. It depends on who you ask. But for me, if I was to think about the trajectory that AI is on, I think the amazing thing is that it's not to say it's a great unknown, but what could have been thought of as being possible, even take 2 or 3 years ago, as a 10-year plan or a program to build products or to build systems that can do certain things, the time to do that has shrunk exponentially.
Yeah, right.
You look at the frontier model providers, you look at the hyperscalers, you look at the companies that are now emerging as a result of all of this technological progress. Some of these things we couldn't even imagine 2 or 3 years ago. So the future's bold, the future's bright, but it's also unknown.
Yeah, right.
And that's what's amazing about the field. But again, it's just something that's a huge opportunity.
For sure. And I think there's a lot of investor interest in getting in on AI companies at the moment. When do you think that investor interest will stop, if ever?
I don't think it does stop.
Okay.
And I think that what feels different this time, AI has had many winters. AI is not a new concept. It's been around for decades, in fact. What feels different this time is a convergence of a lot of different technology trends all hitting at once.
Okay.
Yeah. Like cloud computing is deeply mature. So the cost of compute, data storage, the ability to access huge technological resources is simpler and easier than it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, the hyperscalers and the provider of these technological services and the infrastructure made it cheap, easy for developers and engineers to build. And so there's no putting the genie back in the bottle when it comes to AI because of all of these different things landing at once. And what I see is, again, just huge continued acceptance of the technology, but also it being infused into every single business. And so I think there's AI native companies that are emerging, which are incredible opportunities. There's also more traditional businesses that are applying AI to its operations and getting huge efficiencies. And so for me, the AI wave is going to continue. And I think that investors are always going to be really keen to try to, again, identify the companies that are using it effectively and well, but also building new solutions to solve some of the puzzles that emerge as a result of its widespread use in the economy and through business.
Okay. There's a lot of rhetoric around AI's influence on climate change and how it is contributing to that. How scalable do we think it is if we don't have a planet to live on, if it keeps going that way?
I think for me, the big enabler and a huge focus of a lot of the hyperscalers that are providing the infrastructure, and a lot of frontier model companies that are using that infrastructure to build things, is actually energy. You're seeing a lot of investment, particularly in the US, around, we'll call it elemental energy, and green energy to help power the data centers that provide the infrastructure. And so to me, that's both one great investment opportunity as a mega trend to go follow not only the AI boom that we're currently in, but also the supporting enablers that are needed to bring that to life. But also is a way to make sure that the energy that these models do consume and the infrastructure consumes as a result is actually produced from more renewable and more sustainable sources. And so I think that even though it's a bit of a nuanced response, I do think there are a lot of very intelligent people all over the world thinking about the impacts and the way to reduce it in a way that's good for the economy, good for the environment, and good for people.
For sure. I know that a lot of these larger scale companies, such as Amazon, for example, there's a lot of promises that are made to protect the environment, are essentially a front. I mean, you look at Jeff Bezos's wedding, for example, and everyone's flown in via private jet. But how can consumers of AI who use it on a day-to-day basis for something as simple as ChatGPT, how can they see the environmental impact from these companies, or is it kind of hidden away?
No, I think that if you look online, a lot of them share quite openly the level of resources that are used to respond to queries. So as an example, OpenAI are very public about the energy consumption levels that are used for a certain set of tokens in a prompt or a response that comes out of some of their flagship models. And so what I would say is just be curious if you are interested. A lot of the information is publicly available.
Okay. I mean, that took a real turn, but what is like the number one thing that you would like to see AI do to improve your life?
That is a great question. Would be the number one thing.
Mine currently is making photos of my cat do weird things.
Right. What are we getting the cat to do?
You can see the background of my phone if you want.
Perfect.
This is her holding a dirty martini, having oysters and caviar.
She looks like she's having a lot of fun.
Screen. It's my favorite pastime, so I thought, why not involve her in it? Just me contributing to the emissions, obviously, while making these images. But it's an interesting thing to think, like, what's that thing that AI could do for you that would change your life significantly every day?
I think at least the way that I use AI is it's almost now embedded in most of the work that I do. So when I'm brainstorming, thinking about problems, I'll use it as an assistant or a thought partner to bounce things off. If I'm writing content or drafting up materials or even analyzing things, I'll usually do the first version, but ask it to analyze and give me feedback. And so for me, there's not one big hero use case that is going to change my world. I think it's more, again, just finding the opportunities to make it all the things I do in my life just a little bit better.
Right.
And that I think is immensely helpful and useful.
So it's not a robot making your coffee first thing in the morning?
Not yet.
It's not a car driving you to work so you can work at the same time?
No, there is something quite nice about driving my own car.
You don't want to be passenger princess?
I don't think so.
It's like my favorite thing. I love it. I just want to sit there and have some free time.
We have very different driving experiences by the sounds of things.
I barely ever drive. I live in South Yarra in Melbourne and I walk everywhere.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Gorgeous part of the world.
I do love it. I like to think of it as God's suburb. It is the greatest. I lived in London for 5 years, so you would never drive anywhere and I got really used to it.
Wow.
And I wanted to find somewhere in Melbourne specifically so I didn't have to drive.
Oh, awesome.
I think that would be mine. I would love to have a driverless. Yeah. And that could find the car park.
And parking would be great.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Because how much time do you spend trying to find a park?
More than enough.
Yeah.
It is annoying.
And do you think that the future for us looks like what we'd imagine? Do you remember the Robin Williams film where he was a robot?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you think that that's ever going to be a future that we're going to be living in?
I don't think so.
Really?
No. For me, I think it's an optimist when it comes to the use of technology. I think that there's so much potential in what exists today. And I still think that we aren't making full use of all the capabilities that exist in all of the frontier models at the moment. And so I think it will naturally take time for us to figure out ways to creatively use it to make our lives better. But I think also, even as that adoption curve will slowly increase and we'll get it to do more complex, more interesting, more puzzling things for us, at the same time, the rate of its capability is going to grow exponentially faster. And I think that there's just still so much opportunity with what's there. But again, I think it comes back to those things we were talking about earlier, which is that the human connection, human insight, and humans working with each other to solve puzzles and to get stuff done, I don't think goes away anytime soon.
And what influence do you think that the rise of AI will have on the next generation?
I, again, am very optimistic about what's to come. And for me, I think it will actually help the next generation actually be better and to be able to get more done.
Okay.
And again, as we were talking about earlier, even with things like the rise of the solo founder powered by AI, where you might have had people with a bunch of ideas that couldn't bring those businesses to life, or needing to bring large groups of people together to get stuff done and to get businesses started. I think you'll see the next generation be exponentially more productive as a result of the tools that they're going to be native to. It's a bit like, I still remember getting social media for the first time.
Oh gosh.
Or even having
That's how I learned to code.
Even having things like, I still remember good old MSN or Skype. You look at what things like Teams can do now.
How old are you?
Old enough.
Me.
Closely guarded secret.
Really?
Yep, 100%.
I always find it like really funny that people think it's like a rude question. So like, why do we care how old we are?
It's just...
I'll tell you, I'm 34.
Wow.
Did that help? Or hinder things?
No.
That's okay.
It's still going to be a closely guarded
because
secret.
I think I'll remember the same things. Like I remember setting up my MySpace and being on the back end coding.
Totally.
And putting that in there.
And the picking who your top friends were on MySpace, figuring out your backgrounds.
Absolutely.
But even if you think about all the time and effort we might have spent doing those things, a machine can do that instantly for us now.
Yeah.
And I think that's the potential that exists for the next generation, is that things that may have seemed out of reach, or things that they may have needed to spend days, weeks, months, years developing skills to be able to get those things done or to do stuff, can just be done instantly for them. And so, one, I think it's important for the next generation that they actually know the fundamentals of all these things like engineering, good product management, design. The philosophies don't go away. In fact, become more important, but the way those things are done are completely different, which will, I think, be a huge productivity unlock.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we'll just see this explosion of amazing businesses, creativity, and people being able to do amazing things that would have been out of reach for our generation, let alone generations before.
Yeah, and to think we were learning algebra. Have you used algebra in your day-to-day life?
I haven't.
No. What a waste of brain space.
Look, still, again, philosophically important, good to know, but not something I use on the regular.
Do you think that it's the accessibility for kids now to have these tools will, because they do say that there's studies that are showing that people who rely on AI on a day-to-day basis to do thinking for them is making them stupider. Do you think that's true?
I think it's probably a bit more nuanced than that, which is, I think when you think about the implications of technologies that we now have today, like search engine, what matters more is being able to find information and remember the way to access information than remembering the information itself.
Right.
So as an example, my parents both seem to have this knack of remembering every single street name ever. And they'll be like, if I need to say, hey, I'm going to this place, they can tell you.
My parents do this too.
Correct. And they had this little book that had the streets, and they'd flip through it, and it'd be a fun little ride.
Did you use stuff? I had to use it when I started driving.
Yeah. And now I don't remember street names of suburbs I'm never in because I have Google Maps. And all I need to know is the route to get that information quickly.
Okay.
And so I don't need to hold all that data and information in my own head because I know the machine has it sitting there and I just need to know how to access it.
Do you think our memory has a space limit?
Of course. I also think cognitively there's only a certain amount of decisions we can make every day. And I think that people, trick themselves into thinking that it's infinite brain capacity and your capacity to make decisions every single day. But there is a limit. And I think that offloading some of that memory to a machine, I think is a good thing.
It's such a great take. I love that.
And so when you think about AI as the next generation of technology and thinking about cognition, thinking about its ability to plan, think, act, and do, and being able to offload tasks and activities that may, again, be considered wasteful or toil or things that you don't really need to remember or do. Having a machine do it for you, again, gives you the same outcome, but it's achieved in a different way.
I think that would give a lot of people real peace of mind. And I think that is such a great take on what a lot of people think is a problem, but you've completely framed it in the most perfect way that it is such a solution. I love that so much. And thank you so much for letting me pick your brain today.
You're more than welcome.
I feel like I have come out of this quite a lot smarter, but I'll keep all of this in here if that's okay with you.
You're more than welcome.
And thank you again for giving everybody such a wealth of knowledge, specifically in relation to investments and the industries that people can really look to invest in the future as well. So it's great to have you on time.
Thanks. And I'm looking forward to our next session some point in the future.
Thank you.
Cheers.